Hi, welcome to Christine's Corner. Today's guest is Kathy Gibson.
Yes.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
So glad to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So glad you came. We've been reading your books. You got all these 6 books are all she's the author of these books, and you have a doll here too.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So, do you know the stories that are behind there? Do you know somebody who that's why you wrote about?
Well, it all started. I was a dance teacher most of my life, and as my children became older, I actually was always fascinated by sign language, and so I started taking different types of classes. French classes, cooking classes, and nothing really stuck with me. And so I went to the School for the Deaf in West Hartford and started teaching dance. Well, actually, first what I did is I took sign language classes there at night. And then they asked me why I was there, if I had a deaf child or if I knew of anyone that was deaf. And I said, no, I just thought it was beautiful. This means beautiful in a form of dance. And so from there, they said they had children on the campus, if I would be interested in teaching those children dance. So I volunteered twice a week, and from there is where my whole life changed. I would teach dance to the children there, and people always would say to me all the time, are the deaf children sad or unhappy? And it really bothered me because I said, that's only a part of who they are. They're very happy children. And so literally, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning with the first book, Through Sophie's Eyes. And at that time, it was called The Silent Dancer. But I was just going to donate it to the school. And then from there, the book went nationwide. And people were blogging about it. And so, but each story that I did write, they all are inspired from within. Most people sit down and do an outline and kind of have a whole, program of what they want to write about. And for myself, it doesn't work that way at all. I literally, certain things affect me emotionally, whether it's a person or a situation, and then I usually write about it. So the very first book here, Through Sophie's Eyes, this is a sign for I love you. And Sophie actually was my grandmother's name. I have 2 sons, Tyler and Stefan. So if I had a daughter, her name would have been Sophie. Yeah. So that's where the name Sophie came from. And so here I address the alphabet. This is the fingerspell signing. And then down the side of the page, they learn a word per page.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's.
And it's all in fingerspell.
Yes.
So they learn first, like I said, the alphabet, and then they go into the fingerspell signing. But all my books are about a message of being kind to one another and not whispering about others. I was the dance teacher at the School for the Deaf, but I wanted to honor my dance teacher, Helen Flanagan. She was my dance teacher since I was 3 years old. So I had the artist draw her. So she's this fiery redhead, and she still is the best. We just had a birthday for her. She's 101.
101?
Yes.
I didn't know you were going to tell me that.
Yes,
wow.
Yeah, she's 101, and there she is there. But see here, again, about messages. So the children here are whispering about Sophie because she's using her hand signing, and they don't understand why she's not speaking. So they start whispering about her, but in the end, even though they were covering their mouths, she knew that they were talking about her. And so when I visit schools, I try to share with them that, none of us like to be talked about or teased or anything. And so to always be that person to, be kind to others, and each one of us are always going to be the new person in school or at work.
If there's something different about you accept them.
And we're all different, and that's what makes life so great, right? If we were all the same, I mean, how boring would that be?
How boring, right?
Exactly. So, and we all have gifts, not chosen people. It's just our choices to use our gifts. That's the key that I try to emphasize when I visit schools, that as long as you follow your heart and do what you love, that's the whole key to success in life. You can see today in this world that we live in that people base everything on monetarily, what they have, but they're not always the happiest. It's the people that do what they love that truly find the true happiness and peace within themselves. And we're all here for a purpose,
That's
too.
right.
And that's why I love firefighters and police officers, because they all are, people don't give them enough credit because they are always extending themselves
Yes, they are.
of helping
Yeah.
others.
Even teachers
When they
have
don't.
too.
Teachers, oh my gosh.
Have all those kids. 30
Yes.
kids in one
Well, that's
class.
why I love doing what I do, because when I visit the schools, because I love being around children, but teachers, I give them so much credit because I go in like a rock star. Yay, everybody's like loving me and all this, and I get my hugs and say goodbye. But the teachers, what they have to do every single day, and
Yep.
it's tough. And some of the classrooms are very large, so. But each book, like I said, addresses different things. This one here is a continuation of, so that's the first Sophie book, and this is the second. So here, this is a sign for love. The other one's a sign for I love you. Again, addresses the alphabet. But this one here gives you 4 signs per page, because I noticed when I was going to the schools, the kids were like little sponges. So, you know, I was only going to have 2 words per page, and I decided, oh, we need 4, because these kids really loved it, and they learned so much. And teachers at the end of the talk, they just can't get over how many words the children really do learn. But here, the words are highlighted too, so the kids are really learning a lot of messages.
I thought of everything in there. That's
Well,
good
each book you
for
kind of live and
kids.
learn, right? But this one here, it's about a girl. So Sophie here, she's a deaf dancer.
Yep.
Then here she goes to her cousin's swim meet, and they're synchronized swimming, and she's fascinated by the synchronized swimming underwater, and then she feels a vibration. So she learns the routine, but the girls won't allow her to swim with them in this synchronized swimming class. So what ends up happening is her cousin Gilly, this is the letter S, this is the sign for sorry. She has them each jump in the pool one by one and sign sorry, sorry to Sophie.
That's good.
And then they include her. But you have to, everybody has to be a voice. To, if you see somebody not, you know, being kind to somebody, to reach out to them, or kind of not follow the crowd, because there's a lot of followers in the world, right? And so if, instead of being a follower, be a leader. It's okay to be a leader, and if you're alone doing the right choice, then that's okay. And that's what I try to emphasize, again, in schools, because who wants to be a follower and do bad things and be unkind to others? So, but each book, again, addresses different things. This book here, Coach Bob and Me, this is another interesting kind of story that came to me. My son has a mild case of Asperger's, which is, he's very quiet. And this guy here and I went to high school together at East Catholic High School in Manchester, Connecticut. And he was a big football player, got into a car accident, and then many years later, I walk into my son's high school, and here's this man in a wheelchair working out with my son. I'm like, oh my gosh, another story. So I just came up with Coach Bob and Me. There was no bullying at all in the school, but it addresses if you see somebody sitting alone or having a rough day, just go over and extend yourself to be kind. This book, each book gives to different causes, children's causes. This one here, a third goes to Coach Bob, a third goes to St. Paul's High School in Bristol, and the third one, the teachers decide who the child is most giving from the heart unconditionally. So instead of picking the football player for the scholarship, it would be the child that's most giving, you know, from the heart. So they're all different things. This one here, Daisy May Finds Her Way. There's a lovely lady here in town. She's a big advocate for animal causes, Renee Danino. Do you know her? She's a radio talk show host for 105.9. She, her dog was Daisy May, and the dog was abused and homeless. And she's an animal. Yes, she's an amazing person. So I honored her dog, Daisy May. It's not Daisy's story, but I wanted to do something to Renee, for Renee, because she's always been so helpful and kind with me on so many events and what have you, and friendship. But this story here addresses a homeless dog. So, you know, the children, I really treaded on light waters as far as not being so visual, but I want them to realize that there is bad things that do happen in life.
Yes.
So there's a bully in this story that abuses the dog, and one day the kids couldn't understand why this child is so mean all the time. And so one day they walked by his house, and he's kind of a product of his own situation.
Yeah.
And so, not that they embraced his bad behavior, but it made him have awareness, that the other children have awareness that bad things do happen in certain homes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you become a mean person. That means that what they can do is help him become a better person and change his way of thinking.
Right.
And just because he's kind of having a rough go in his own home doesn't mean that he needs to take that anger and address it on another person or animal.
Right.
So that's what that book addresses. And actually, Betty White, the actress, endorsed this book.
Oh, she did?
Yes,
Oh,
Betty White. I
cute.
love Betty
Wow.
White. Yep. And
Oh,
then,
yeah, because she's very big on it.
oh, she is, she is. And then we have What's Your Something Special? And this book here is about a little girl, and I have no idea why each one of them have a disability, but I do address disabilities in all my books. I was always gravitated to when somebody's sitting alone. My mom said when I was like 7 years old, and that's another strange thing of a circle of life, because most of my books are 4, 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. But when I was like 7, she had a friend that was in a wheelchair. And, you know, I just always was that person to go over to that child and hang out with that child, because I didn't want that child to sit alone or play alone.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to emphasize in my books. So if you see somebody sitting alone or whatever, go over to them. This particular book here is about a little girl in a wheelchair that wants to run, jump, and climb like everybody else, because she thinks being active is, you know, what she wants to have to feel fulfilled. But in the storyline, as you read on, that's her goal. She just wants to do what everybody else does, and she goes to a circus, and she meets a magician. And the magician ends up giving her these glasses and recites a poem to her. And she thinks with these glasses, they're going to help her walk again by reading the poem. But so she's in her room, and she's getting frustrated. She throws the glasses across the room. And then she puts the glasses back on. And she's so angry that she's not walking, you know, because that's all she wanted, is to get out of that chair.
Yep.
But with the poem, the message is that we all have a gift. And it doesn't have to be a physical gift. So in the end, not to give the whole story away, but in the end, she realizes she's a great writer, and then she helps her friends find what their special gifts. It comes from your heart. Everybody has a key within their heart, and that's the message in this storyline. And then I'll read this one too, this poem to you if you like.
Yes, please.
Would you like that?
Yes, please read.
Thank you. Okay, so this one is called What's Your Something Special?
So Kathy Gibson, she's reading her own books.
Yes, well, I'll read the poem to it, but but the books are great little messages. So this one is, when you find your special something, you'll know it right away. It comes from deep inside of you and never goes away. It's something you've always had but can't find in a book. Don't give up, just try again and take another look. There is a special gift that only you can share. The more you give from your heart, the more you'll find is there. When you look inside yourself, believe in what you see, you'll find your special something, your heart will hold the key. So that's that one there. Yeah, so
I love that.
Each book has their own little message. And then this is the newest book here. This one's Gracie. And this is about a girl who is a baseball player, who is teased for looking and acting like a boy through Penelope's eyes.
Yeah.
But it's about staying true to yourself and not changing for anybody else but yourself.
Right.
So it's a cute little story, you know, with the girl, and she has a great relationship with her mom, and they talk about things. And I gave a little cameo to my other books. So there's a picture. She's a little slappy, so there's a picture of her, Sophie, and Coach Bob on the floor there. And then the doll really is also another fun thing I finally got to achieve. Says I love you on her t-shirt, and she's doing the I love you hand sign. And she is part of the Sophie books. She's doing the I love you hand sign. And so this doll, you know, I always wanted to have. but it's first it turned into parents buying for their children, and then it turned into friends buying for their girlfriends or guy friends just to say I love you in sign language. And also florists now are putting them in the flowers. So you know how they have the teddy bears? So now Sophie's going in some of those florists, which with the flowers, which I absolutely love.
I wasn't sure if you could get just Sophie.
You can totally get just Sophie. You can get just Sophie, or you could get the book and Sophie, whatever you want. You could get all 6. I do a lot of different book signings or school visits. So yeah, and she's always on my website, and of course Barnes and Noble and all that.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, I looked in the library and I see mostly Sophie's Eyes.
Oh yeah. Well, the teacher, the library is really. My very first book signing through Sophie's Eyes was at the Farmington Library in Connecticut here, and that one there was magical because. I was just going to be it was just going to be like a tutu party. We were going to have cake and lemonade. Cute. It was my first, book signing. And 100 baby girls showed up in tutus.
100?
100.
Wow.
And
oh my God.
That day will never leave me. That was in 2009. And that day, I actually went to a dance studio and picked up a tutu for myself, too. Just for the heck of it. I thought, I'm just going to get a tutu. Just, you just never know.
Right.
Because I thought maybe 5 baby girls will show up in tutus, or maybe 2. Who knows? So I had it in the car, and my mother called me from she's like, where are you? Because I was stuck in traffic. I'm always late. And she called me, and she said, where are you? There's so many babies here, and they're all in their tutus. I'm like, well, how many are you talking about? And she said, like 80 or 100, I don't know. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So I was so excited. I ran in. I got in the car. I just threw it over my dress, my tutu. And I go run in, and the kids just went bananas. And I'm telling you. But see, that's what makes me happy. That's what I enjoy to do. I just love being around, children. And, I always say, people say to me, oh, you're doing so much with children. And I said, well, it's not necessarily what I'm doing for them. It's I'm always feeling like I'm getting baby hearts thrown to me. And that's the perfect example of how I feel. I always feel that I'm getting thrown baby hearts, because even we all have bad days or what have you, and I'll get like little love notes from children in the mail, or the children are just
that's good.
The
you
best.
Get notes too.
Oh, I get little love notes from schools. Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's just so sweet.
They draw some pictures and.
They draw pictures. Mostly through Sophie's Eyes, of Sophie doing the I love you hand sign. I have more cards of Sophie doing the I love you hand sign and cards and I should probably do something with those one day, because it's just, they're so beautiful. I just love it.
I see that you talked about Gracie. Are you going to be doing any more books on Gracie, like you did Sophie?
Yes. So So I have these books out here, and then she is the baseball player in this book. But I always myself, my sister always loved dolls, but I was always a book person. I always walked around like this with books in my hands, and. It's so funny because one interview that I had, my girlfriend actually made fun of me when I was doing the interview, because I said I love the smell, the texture of books, and I do. And she was like laughing while I'm doing the interview. I'm like, what do you laugh at? And it was, it was just that I do. I love the texture. I love the smell of books. I just love books. And I never went to, the Kindles and all that kind of No, I'm not. I still will have a book or a newspaper in my hand any day. But the Gracie book, I would love to do. I started writing it. It's called Gracie Loves Books. And so it's just, she's kind of a nerd, which I love. I always was, in my younger years. And I just believe that reading brings you to so many different places, and being different people, and I just love all that. So
different lands and different
and so in the book I try to make reading cool, and so that's basically what that book is about. Is just reading is cool,
Oh, they're going to love that.
Yeah, it's a really
I don't want to read. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a cute book.
Wow.
So we'll see.
So you gave us credit on all these books. Besides Gracie, are you going to be doing more on Gracie, or?
Well, I have that one book that Gracie loves books, so that will be the next one coming out. And then, pretty much I'm just going to stick with, I do a lot of, TV, radio, and school events.
I was just going to say, do you do events?
Yeah, so I'm doing all that kind of stuff right now, and, working on some other projects too. So my life is pretty busy. So for right now, I have the 6 books out, possibly one more, 7. Gracie loves books, but then after that, I think I'm just going to put that on a pause a little bit and then just focus on, the other stuff that I'm working on for children.
Are you? Do you have a website?
I do. It's called childrenwithlove.com. For Children with Love.
So for more information, they
could go to my
website.
Yes. And there is also a donation button too if people want to donate to the For Children with Love Foundation. I donate monies from these books, but if you want to just give it, monies to the cause, then that can go to different children's causes also.
I think it's very interesting that each one of these books are representative of some people with different needs.
Yes.
And that other kids need to know, just because they're different. I mean, they're different too.
Everybody's different.
Because you're bullied doesn't mean you got to bully somebody else.
Right. Well, that's the key message, I think, is just so people realize that, everybody has some sort of hardships here and there, and to not judge, but also instead of being like a victim,
Yes.
kind of learn from that experience. So if you've had a bad experience in your life, which everybody does at one point
Yes,
or
they
another, and nobody gets away with it.
No.
So everybody has some sort of thing that does happen in their world. So instead of being a victim, be an advocate, be a voice, and try to help others with that situation, or better yourself and become a voice to help others. And I think that is the message that I thought always I was going to be a voice for deaf children, to let people know that deaf children love to dance. But as time progressed with all these learning lessons for me, from being inspired from all these different people that came into my world, that I find that my mission is to, just be a voice for all, in different ways. For children, though. I'm a big advocate for children and animals, and that's just my thing. That's my cause.
And even just books. I mean,
and I love
there's
books.
a lot of them that like, I don't want to read, and then you're saying reading books are fun.
They are fun. I mean, I try to keep them interesting, and I think with the 2 Sophie books, teaching the sign language helps kids stay focused, and that's why actually in the synchronized swimming book, I changed the color of the pages to keep their eyes focused on color.
Oh.
So
very interesting.
Yeah,
That was very
I'm a very
clever.
visual person. Well, I'm more visual because even my younger years, it was tough for me to read. Really,
Yeah.
I loved books, but I didn't. It wasn't always easy for me. And so I think today's world, there's more ways of helping kids be intrigued by writing and reading, and people visiting the schools to help them. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
This is fun.
And thanks for tuning in to Christine's Corner. I'll see you again next week.